This has Winnipeg Jets fans fired up as they lose another game. And this time, there was a lot of people to blame. But what has fans fired up is the continued love given to Logan Stanley. And he had another brutal game today. So to break that down, discuss what it can mean going forward for the Winnipeg Jets. As you know, they started 15-1, and now the record is looking a lot more bleak. But before we get into all that, we are proud to announce that this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who are proud supporters of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. And it doesn't matter what city you are in, whether you're in Toronto, whether you're in Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, it does not matter. Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, St. John's, it doesn't matter where you are from coast to coast. Rentals.ca has a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you.
Their website is clean and easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all the options in your area. Find your home court with Rentals.ca.
Yeah, check out the website in the pinned comment or the description down below. And shout out to Rentals.ca for supporting our channel, supporting Team Canada, and supporting you guys for finding the best rentals across the country. So thank you guys again. And thank you to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. Jets lose again. It was unfortunate. We haven't had a video in a couple days here. It's been a little bit of a rocky road over the past 8 games or so for the Winnipeg Jets. They obviously started 15-1. Everybody was on a high. We knew that the Jets were going to come back down to earth at some point. But it's the way they're losing, some of the decisions that the coach is making. Scott Arniel, Kevin Schiefele off to a degree here. It's starting to look a little bit rocky, and I kind of want to dive into a few things here. But the biggest takeaway from this game against the Dallas Stars, where they lost and they were the worst team tonight, is Logan Stanley. And you can see the game impact chart from this game, and we'll dive into that a little bit as well. We can start with that. So I want to get your thoughts on this game first and foremost, because it was a very, very interesting one. You look at it from a perspective of, Hayden Fleury had a phenomenal game, and we'll really dive deep into these blue line pairings, because that's one of the biggest things that is kind of the takeaway from this game and coming into the game. But who impressed you tonight? Neil Pionk, classic, good game, but Hayden Fleury was impressive. But Logan Stanley, on the other hand, we'll dive into the specifics here. Way too many penalties and not enough of good things, to put it as clear as possible.
Well, in terms of impressive, not much to like for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, to be completely honest. Adam Lowry with a nice tip-in goal. I like his game, obviously getting to the front of the net. And I think that second pairing there in Hayden Fleury and Neil Pionk had a really pretty good game. Like, for what it was as a game, and obviously that they lost 3-1, they had a pretty decent game. But the biggest storyline in this game, I think, is if you look at the defense pairing, Scott Arniel and the coaching staff really playing with the defense pairings for the first time this season, and the lines for that matter, because the Jets have kind of been a well-oiled machine throughout the first 20 games or so of this season, that they haven't really had to touch anything. But now they're dealing with some injury issues on the back end specifically, and even up front. Nikolai Ehlers missing him. I mean, he's a great player, right? If you're missing him, you're going to suffer a little bit. So I think the Jets are, not coming back down to earth. I'm not going to put it that way, but they are struggling right now with, obviously Cole Perfetti is not playing to what we know him to be playing to, that level of play. And obviously some injuries on the back end. So they've really shuffled things around for the first time this season, and then they kind of put them back towards the end of the game. But a real tough game for the top pairing, which normally doesn't really happen in Morrissey and DeMello. Really tough game for them, this one. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward, because we'll get to Heinola in a second too. It's been weird the last couple games. I'm not sure why they're not giving him more of a look, especially with a couple guys out due to injury. But Logan Stanley, a couple bad penalties, didn't play much in the third. He's got to be better. So I wonder if they take a look at Heinola going forward.
Yeah, and you look at the blue line pairs, in case you missed the game. Morrissey, Colin Miller got moved up all the way down. He started off the season in the third pairing. Now he's all the way up to the first pairing with Josh Morrissey. Dylan DeMello all the way down to the third. And again, it's not a matter of a demotion or promotion here. It's just a matter of changing things up from, the coaching perspective. And again, Dylan DeMello, you look at that top pairing of Morrissey and Miller, and the two things that they changed, putting Miller alongside Morrissey and then DeMello alongside Stanley. When you look at the impact chart, Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello were two of the worst players according to this on the ice. Now, again, you have to actually watch the games. You can't just take everything from the game impact score chart. But honestly, the eye test compares pretty well to what this impact chart was saying, specifically regarding the blue line. And I also want to touch on, and we'll get to it in a minute, players are playing through injuries, and I think it's obviously specifically Mark Schiefele here, but it's multiple guys. And I don't know if it's helping them at all at this point. Like, Schiefele does not look like the same player. He started off the season so hot. He was looking amazing, and then he had another rough game. Not uninterested. It just looks like he's dealing with something pretty. I don't know. I don't want to speculate in the severity of a guy's injury, but I don't know. It's very interesting. Like the lineup decisions, I'm starting to question now. You look at the guys playing through injuries, even the discipline out there on like throughout the game is something that is uncharacteristically bad for this Winnipeg Jets team. Because coming into the season, even under last year under Rick Bowness, their discipline was very good. And now they've randomly turned into a team that can't generate offense, can't get a clutch goal when they need it. It was 2-1 there. They could have, in games past, they would have pushed. You think back to their first loss of the season against the Leafs, where they fought back down. I believe it was 5-0 or 4-0, and get it back into a 5-4 game. We're not seeing that right now, and one of the only reasons they are not worse in their last 8 games is kind of because of Connor Hellebuyck, and he stole them a game or two there. So I'm not getting ready to hit the panic button yet, but there's a lot of questionable things going on, and very importantly, Mark Scheifele, among others, are dealing with a pretty bad injury, I think, here. Not bad in the sense of going to be out long term, but it's definitely visibly affecting his play.
Yeah, a couple of injuries that they're dealing with, and I think it's affecting his play, and then it's affecting the whole dynamic of that line because he's not playing, center right now, and obviously you're not playing well if you're injured, right? So I wonder if they give him a little bit of a break here over the next little while, because they have a busy month, which we'll get to in a minute too. Logan Stanley is not playing disciplined. They're not playing disciplined as a whole sometimes. This is as of late. Obviously they've started the season really great, but they're 3-6 now, right, in the last couple. So that is something to look at for sure. And then even Heinola, maybe we got to look at him. I mentioned him earlier in the video. Maybe we got to look at him, right? Dylan Sandberg's out with injury. They kind of call him up. He has a conditioning stint. He comes in. They give him a shot with 2 games right away. Scott Arniel says that he's Heinola's biggest fan, and then all of a sudden he's healthy scratched again, right? So I'm not sure what's going on with that exactly. Maybe give him another look. And they got a busy month coming up, so you might as well. Like Dylan Sandberg's not going to be back for quite a while here, so it's going to be interesting. There are a few things to like in their game still. Like I think the penalty kill is pretty good. Morgan Barron, for example, and Kapari, they've been playing pretty good. So those are small things to take away from games like this, but they got to get back on track. They started the season fantastic, but now they're slumping a little bit. Like you can't lose, you can't go 3-6 in your last 9, right? Like any team in the NHL, you just can't do that. So they're going to have to get back on track here.
Yeah, it's not looking as bright as it once was here. The Jets have gone from 15-1 to 18-7 in a hurry, and it definitely has been a bit of a rough stretch, like you mentioned, 3-6 in their last 9, and ultimately, I mean, they're still in a very good spot. It's not like the world is collapsing or anything like that, but first 16 games, 15-1, last 9 games, 3-6. And the Connor Hellebuyck is still playing at a Vezina caliber level, so you need to be able to take advantage of this, especially given everything that's happening.
Yep.
That being said, Scott Arniel spoke out about his decision to play Logan Stanley. He took 3 minor penalties, and that was, touching on discipline. He's been one of the worst ones since his return from his injury. He's not going to get any better sitting in the press box. He needs to be in our top 6. Also says he needs to stay out of the box, and I mean that's obvious. He does. He's been taking way too many penalties. But before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts on this? I mean, at the end of the day, like, if he's not playing well, you have a guy in Ville Heinola who's waiting in the wings, and I hate to see him get his minutes taken by someone who's, albeit a very different game. Obviously, Ville Heinola, and Logan Stanley, polar opposite players, but I mean, I think fans have had enough of the Logan Stanley, not experiment as a whole, even though a lot of fans were saying that before he came back, but just kind of, he's playing horribly, switch it up a little bit. And this blue line, since Dylan Sandberg went out, has not looked the same, and it, even on paper, looks a lot worse than it did 3 weeks ago.
He's not going to get better sitting in the press box. Arniel's correct about that, but you also have to send the message sometimes and be like, hey, you're taking far too many penalties, and you're not helping us out here on the ice. So you're going to go sit in the press box in favor of a guy who's barely played over the last couple of years and has had injury trouble, and there's a lot of question marks surrounding. So I think that that's the next move. I think they have to give Heinola a really big opportunity here, like give him another shot, really, give him a good look here is what I'm trying to say. And Logan Stanley, send him a message. Like maybe he does have to spend some time in the press box because he hasn't been good. He just came back from injury, and then he lays a performance like this, right, against a pretty good Dallas Stars team. And yes, the Jets are still in a good spot, but teams are starting to catch up. You can't slump like that in the middle of November or late November. So they cannot carry this over to December. They absolutely can't. They have to get back on track. And I think Hellebuyck has been doing his part to a degree still, but the rest of the team's got to get going, because if you miss a couple guys from injury, yes, it affects the team. Ehlers, guys like this, Dylan Sandberg, right? But you have to continue to play well. Like, you're the Winnipeg Jets. You put together a very great start to the season that's, very structured. Get back to playing that way, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, let us know down below what your thoughts are. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting time, and I'm hoping also, side note, that Cole Perfetti starts to get things going again
Yeah.
because he has been ice cold as of late. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you are new. A lot more Jets videos on the way for you guys. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. See you guys later.